Hello everyone, I'm Alicia. Remember a while back I did a French beaded jewelry video? Well, traditionally, French flowers are made with beads and wire, and I took the technique for making those flowers and I used it in jewelry making. I didn't make flower jewelry, but I just took that technique of using seed beads and wire together and I used it in jewelry making. Well, these earrings here were a pair of earrings that I showed in that video, and I did several different pieces, and I just wanted to show you guys in that video how you can use the French beading technique to make some really cool jewelry pieces. Well, if you didn't see that video, I will leave a link for it down there in the description bar so you could check that out. Now, these earrings here I made with French beading, and I love them so much. They are so different and unique compared to things that I usually make. And for this tutorial, I wanted to show you guys how to make sugar skull rings, and I took the idea, they kind of look like this, but I couldn't use my French wire technique to make these rings because the wire and the seed beads would not hold up for a ring. It would get all bent up, but it's great for pendants and earrings. Now, I took the idea of these earrings and I used thread instead of wire, and of course I had to do a different weave to get this to work. So now I'm going to show you my sugar skull rings. So here are my skull rings, and I really love how these turned out, and they were a lot of fun to make. Now, comparing my earring to my rings, you may notice that I have 11 seed beads here on top of my 6 and I don't in the earring. The reason why I did that, because the earring, the skull wiggles just a little bit side to side in my earring, but that's not a big deal because earrings are all about movement. Now with my ring, I did not want my skull to wiggle at all, so I put 11 seed beads on the top here to keep the skull from wiggling, and it does not wiggle at all. It's very sturdy. Now for this ring, I did have to do a new ring band. I haven't done this ring band before. It's kind of like a daisy chain stitch, but I had to change it up a little bit to get it to work. Now usually, you do the daisy chain stitch, you're doing all the same size bead. I had to use 2 different sizes, and I really love how cute this ring band is. And for my colors, I did a Halloween theme, of course, because Halloween's coming up. And I really like the black and white border around this. I used to work with black and white a lot, but I kind of stopped doing that. This one here, I did some really girly pastel colors. This one here, I love these colors together. I did a dark blue with green, bronze, and a turquoise blue. And this one here, it's so adorable, but it was a pain to make. I had a lot of problems with this little skull. I had to change it a lot. With the bigger skulls, which these are 12 millimeters. Actually, these are 13 millimeters, and the blue skull was 12 millimeters. These here I used 6 seed beads with 11 on top. But for the smaller one, I had to change my sizes and do these green 8 with 15 on top. And then I did 11 Tohos around that. And then I did 11 check around that. And 15 Mayukis. So I had to do, and by the way, my stitch on the very outer edge of this is different. It's not the same as this because I just had to change it to make it work for what I needed in this ring here. So this one was a pain to make, but I just wanted to show you guys how you can make this ring with different size beads. And don't freak out if you can't find skull beads, because you can use round beads. I just made this earlier because I just wanted to show you guys. I realized that some of you might not be able to find skull beads. I made this with a lampwork bead. This is a 12 millimeter lampwork bead. I used the same amount of seed beads to make it, the 6 and 11 and I did want to do some more beading around the edge here, but I didn't have enough time to do that and film this video. And also, something else I wanted to tell you guys, if you don't like such a big ring, you can just stop at the 6 seed beads, because the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to attach the 6 seed beads and then the 11 O's to the skull, and then we have to make the ring band, because we can't continue doing the top and then add the ring band, because as you can see, this is domed here and it's really hard to get back into these beads to add the ring band. So I like to do the center of the ring first, then the ring band, and then I come back up and I finish the sides here. Okay, so I think that just about covers everything. Let's make this ring. Here is the list of materials you will need to make a sugar skull ring. You will need 7 feet of 8-pound fireline, a size 10 beading needle, a ruler, a 12 or 13 millimeter skull bead, and if you don't have skull beads, you can use a round bead like I did here. And you're also going to need 14 6/0 seed beads, these right here in pink. You're going to need 8/0 seed beads, and I can't tell you the amount you'll need of 8/0s because we're going to be using 8/0s for the top and the ring band, so there's no telling how much you will need. It depends on what size you'll wear. And we're also going to need 11/0 seed beads in 2 colors. Okay, now I believe this is everything we will need. If I forgot anything, I will put it down there in the description bar below the video, and you can see everything you will need down there in the description bar. And I will also put things like where I got my beads from and stuff like that, so make sure you check down there for that kind of information in the description bar. I went ahead and I threaded my size 10 beading needle onto my 7 feet of fireline thread, and to make a long piece of thread easy to work with, what I like to do is to slide my needle far down my thread. So as you could see here, I probably slid it about 2 foot down my thread. Doing this makes the working tail shorter and easier to work with. Now the thing is you have to remember, when your tail starts getting close to our work, you have to slide your needle down your thread because you don't want this working tail to get stuck in your work. Now I'm going to start by taking my needle and passing through the bottom of the skull bead, just like this. Okay, and I'm going to pick up 6 6/0 seed beads, just like that. I'm going to pass my needle through the bottom here of the skull bead and pull this through. Now I'm going to measure my tail. I want to leave a 6-inch tail because I need to come back later on and secure this tail. Now that's a miracle. I have 6 inches without any adjusting. Okay, so now what I have to do is pick up again 6 6/0 seed beads, just like that, and I'm going to slide these down my needle. You can check again and make sure that you still have 6 inches of thread and that it didn't move around. Now what we're going to do is to tie a surgeon's knot, and I actually like to tie 2 of them. So surgeon's knot, I just go over and under 1 time, bring this down, and before I completely tie the knot, I do like to come back and adjust this a bit. Okay, so that's how I want it to look right there. And now I'm going to finish tying the surgeon's knot. So I already did over and under, now I'm going to do over and under 2 times and bring this down. Pull that very tight, and I'm just going to tie another surgeon's knot. So again, over and under, pull that down, over and under twice, and pull that down. Pull that tight. Okay, so now you could see my knot right here. So what I'm going to do is leave this tail here because later on I'll go back and tie that in. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pass through the 6/0 seed beads here on this side. Since my knot's right here, I'm going to go through all of these. You don't want to shoot across to that side because your knot's on this side. So I'm going to pass my needle through these 6 seed beads on this side. Just like this. Pull this through. I'm going to pick up one 6/0 seed bead, and I'm going to pass through the other 6 seed beads on this side now. Pass through all of these, just like that, and pull the tail through. Okay, so now this is what it looks like from the front, and I have to add one more. It looks like I need to add 2 more, but I actually can get away with 1, and what it does is it makes the skull raise up and pop up more. Now, what I like to do, because tension is very important on this, is I don't just pass through a couple beads here. I like to go all the way back around a second time to keep a nice tension. So I just picked up one more 6/0 seed bead, and I'm going to pass through all of these seed beads again. Okay. So I'm going to go around second time here, passing through as many as I can at one time. Right here's my knot. I'm just going to go up here, and I found to add my seed beads that go around the skull, the 11/0s. When I was designing this, I discovered that it was best to, when I start adding them, to add them at the top of the head, not at the side of the head down here, because for some reason, if I start adding them down here, this will pucker and it'll pull away from the skull. So I found it best to start adding the 11/0s at the top of the skull. So I think I'm going to pass through this bead right here and start adding them. Okay, so now I have to pull my thread very, very tight, and as you can see, we now have a cute little frame around our skull bead. Okay, so make sure you pull that tight. Now I'm going to pick up my seed beads. These are 11/0 Miyuki. The red ones I'm using, the 6/0s, are actually Czech, and I did mix brands together for this project. Okay, so I have my 2 11/0 seed beads. I'm exiting out of this bead here. I'm going to go back through the same seed bead, but in this direction. So I'm going to pull that through. And before I pull that down, I am going to pull this tight again to make sure that my skull did not loosen up. My little red frame didn't loosen up. Okay? Then I'll pull this tight. I'm going to flip this up. I'm going to take my needle and pass through these 2 bronze 11/0 seed beads like that. Okay, and pull this through. And you can see how they sit right there. And you can see the hole here on the skull. These 11/0s are going to cover that hole. You won't be able to see it on the top or the bottom. Now again, I'm going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, just like this. And I'm going to take my needle and pass through this bead here. So my thread's going in this direction. So I'm going to pass through this 6/0 and through the next one, just like that. And then I'm going to pull my thread, and my 11/0s, you could see right there, they stack right on top of that 6/0 seed bead. Now I'm going to take my needle and pass back through all 4 of these 11/0 seed beads. Okay, pull that through and pull this tight. And every time I do this, I take my needle, or my fingernails, and I push these seed beads together so they look like that. Okay, again, I'm going to pick up 2 more 11/0 seed beads. Exiting out here, I'm going to take my needle and pass through this 6/0 right here, and also through the next one. So I'm going through 2, just like that, and pull my thread through, and my little 11/0 seed bead stack on top of my 6/0. So now I'm going to take my needle, and I need to turn this around, and I'm going to pass through these 4 seed beads here. So every time we pick up 2 beads and we're stacking 2 11s on top of 1 6/0, and then we connect it to that 6/0. So I'm going to pass my needle through these 4 right there, okay? I'm going to pull that through. Turn this here. And again, take your fingernails, make sure that's tight and there's no gaps, and we should have this. Again, I'm going to continue this. I'm going to pick up 2 11s, pass through this 6/0 here and through the next one. So picking up 2 11s, passing through 2 6/0s, pull this through. It'll stack on top of these, and then I have to turn this and take my needle and pass back through these 4 11/0s that are stacked on top of the 2 6/0s that I'm passing through. So just like that, and pull the thread through. Again, pull that tight, and we should have this. So now you can see that we're starting to go around the skull there. Okay, so again, 2 11/0s, just like that, pass through the next 6/0 right here and through the one beside it. So picking up 2 11s, passing through 2 6/0s, and these beads will stack again on top of my 6/0s. I'm going to turn this so I could pass through the 4 right here, just like that. Pull the thread through. I'm going to pull this tight, and there we go. Again, pick up 2 11/0 seed beads. Exiting out right here, I'm going to connect to this 6/0 seed bead. So I'm taking my needle and I'm going through these 2 6/0s. Pull the thread through, and I got caught up in my tail there, so I'm just going to get this out of the way. Okay. What I like to do is to fold this to the back of my skull like that, so I keep it out of my way. Okay, so I just added those 2 11s. I'm going to turn this and pass through the 4 here that are on top of the 2 6/0s that I'm exiting out of. Okay, and I'm going to pull this through. Pull this tight. We now have that. And now I'm going to pick up 2 11/0s again, and I'm now at the chin right here of my skull, so I'm going to pass my needle through these 2 6/0s here, just like that. And again, they will stack. Okay, then I'm going to turn this so I could pass through the 4 11/0s that are on top of my 2 6s right here that I'm exiting out of, just like that. Pass through there and pull this through. Again, pull this tight and use your fingernails so there's no gaps. Again, 2 11/0s, pass through this 6/0 and the one beside it, so we're going through 2 and pull the tail. Turn this again and pass through these 4 11/0s, just like that. Pull that through, and again, pull this tight. Okay, so we're just repeating these same steps over and over all the way around the top of our ring. So I just picked up 2 more 11/0s. I'm exiting out right here. I'm going to pass through these 2 6/0s, pull my tail, they will stack just like that. Then I have to turn this because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to pass through these 4 11/0s that are on top of my 6/0s, and again I have to turn it in this direction so I can pull through. Just like that. And I like to go back and pull that tight. Okay, so now we have this. Again, pick up 2 11/0s. Exiting out here, I'm going to go to my next 6/0. And you may have to sometimes to get to these beads it will be a little tricky. You may have to go in at angles to get through those 2 6/0 seed beads. Okay, now I'm going to pull this through, and again those beads will stack for me. And I'm going to turn this and pass through the 4 that are 11/0s that are on top of the 2 6/0s, just like that. And again, turn it and pull the thread through, and go back and pull this tight. Okay, I'm almost there. We have 4 more 6/0s to go. So I'm going to pick up again 2 11/0 seed beads. Exiting out here, I'm going to pass through this one, pull this through, turn this, then I'm going to take the needle and pass through these 4 11/0 seed beads right here, just like that, and pull this through. Pull this tight, and there we go. Looks good. So again, pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, pass through this 6/0 here, and through this one, pull this through, pass through 4 11/0s, just like that. And pull this tight. Okay, so now we just have 2 to go. Pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, pass through this 6/0 here and through the one beside it. Pull this through. They will stack, and then I have to turn this again and go through these 4 11/0s. Just like that. Again, pull this, pull this tight, and we now have this, and we just have 1 more here to go. So I'm going to pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, and I'm going to put them right here. Now if you go back and look at our stitch, we should have 2 threads between each 6/0 seed bead, if it's correct. There you could clearly see that it's 2. Okay, so right now, looking here, we only have 1 thread here. Now instantly, you know, you would kind of think, oh, I picked up 2, I'm just going to go through here and then go this way and connect this, but we have to finish this side here. So I picked up my 2, I'm gonna get this tail out of my way. I picked up my last 2, and I have to make my second thread over here. So what I'm going to do is pass my needle through these 2 6/0s. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to turn this and pass through, again, 4 seed beads. Just like that. And pull this tight. Okay, so now we should have 2 threads. Okay, so now I have to connect this side to this side. So I'm going to take the needle, pass through these 2, it's going to be like we're picking them up. So we're just going to pass through these 2 here. Okay, so just like that, pass through those 2 seed beads, pull this through, and then I'm going to take my needle and pass through these 2 6/0s right here. Okay, pull this through. Pull this tight, and it'll come together, but it will even come together more once we repeat this again. So coming out here, again, normally what we would do is go through 4 seed beads again. So I'm going to pass through all 4 of these again, just like this. And this time, once we get back to those red beads, it will close our gap here. So pull this tight, okay, and then pass, exiting out right here, through a 6/0 seed bead. You don't have to pass through 2 here, you can pass through just 1. Okay, just like that. And again, pull this tight. So now we have the top of our ring completed. This is the center of our ring. And now what we have to do is add our ring band. So we need to get in position to add our ring band. Now, we need to have it centered, of course. So if you look here, we have 14 6/0 seed beads, and we have 2 here on the side and 2 there on the side. So we're going to have 5 at the bottom and 5, excuse me, at the top. Okay, so I'm right here. I'm going to take my needle and pass through these 6/0s here, these here, okay. So again, I got so right here, this is where I'm going to attach my ring band, to these 2 beads on the sides. So you could see now that there's 5 at the top and there's 5 at the bottom to make this look even. So I need to pass through just this one 6/0 seed bead. Okay. So there we go. We are now in position to add our ring band. So now I'm going to show you how to make the ring band for this ring. And I'll just take one of these over here so you can see. I'm going to start right here up against the 6/0s and make this really neat looking weave. Okay, so I'm going to pick up 2 11/0s of green here and 2 11/0s of my second color and 2 11/0s again of my first color, just like this. I'm going to take my needle and pass through these 2 6/0 seed beads right here. Careful not to go into the third one. Okay, so again, looking at this from the top, you can see these 2 here and these 2 here. Again, we're going to have 5 at the top and 5 at the bottom that we're not connecting our ring band to. Pass through here. Now, with this ring band, because I'm doing 1 needle instead of 2, on this one I start at this side and I go all the way to this side, and then I connect here, and then I go back up to the top. I don't get to go back and reinforce this ring like I normally do. So I like to reinforce this part right now. So I just picked up those 6 seed beads and I'm going to reinforce them a second time. So pass through all of them again, pass through these 2 again, and then pass again back through these 2 6/0 seed beads. Pull this through and pull this tight. Okay, I have to exit out of these 2 bronze, so I'm going to pass my needle through these 2 green and the 2 bronze there, so I can start my weave. Okay, and I actually just messed up. Actually, no, I didn't. I'm confused. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Okay, so just like that, we pass through there twice. Let's reinforce it. Now what I'm going to do is pick up 2 green and 2 bronze. into green. So 6 seed beads just like this. And I'm going to pass through 1 bronze seed. Now this is where I was confused earlier because I thought that I started coming out the center, but I didn't. I start at the end and then I go through the center. Okay, so I'm just going to pass through the 1 bronze seed bead just like this. Okay, so I'm going to pull this tight one more time, and then I'm going to pull this through. And now I have this, and I'm going to pick up 1 8/0 seed bead. I'm exiting in this direction, and since I'm going in that direction, I need to go through this seed bead here in this direction. Okay? So coming out this way, and then we're going straight across, and we're going up that way. Okay? So pull this through, and then pull this tight. And I like to wiggle it just like this. Now one thing I have to point out to you guys, because I screwed this up, when you're making this weave, you have to keep it laying in the same direction throughout the entire making of it. When I first started making this, I was flipping this back and forth like that. And then when I went like this and I went to lay my ring out, I noticed that it was not laying right. It was like, it was not flat. It was like kind of wavy. And then I realized that I was not going in the right direction because I kept flipping this. So right now I have my skull facing up, so I'm going to try to keep this facing up throughout the making of this, just so you don't get confused and mess up like I did. Okay, so now this is what we have. Again, I'm going to pick up 6 seed beads, 2 of this color, 2 of this color, 2 of this color, just like that. Again, keeping my skull up, I'm going to pass my needle through this 1 seed bead, just like that. Pull this through. I got stuck on something down here. What's going on? My tail wrapped around my working thread. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pull this through just like that. Swat and tie knot. Okay, so again, because it's loosened up, I'll go back and I'll pull this, and then I'll pull this. Okay, so now I have this little square here, and I'm going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead and put it right here. So I'm exiting in this direction, and I'm going to go straight across, and I'm going to pass my needle up through this 11/0 seed bead right here. Okay, pull this through. I like to hold this between my fingers because if you don't, it'll get really loose. Okay, so now it should look just like that. And sometimes you might have to come in here and, you know, position the beads around. Like sometimes the bead in the center won't be laying like the one in front of it is. You'll just have to go back and wiggle the beads and get them to lay right. Okay, so now I have this, and I'm going to repeat this again. I'm going to pick up 2 of these, 11/0s, 2 of these, my second color, and then 2 of the same color. Again, exiting out here, I'm going to pass my needle through this bead right here. Again, hold this between your fingers. And now I have this little square. I'm going to pick up an 8/0 seed bead and put it right here in this hole. So, focus camera. You can see my thread going in that direction. I'm going to take my needle and pass through this seed bead just like that. Okay? Pull this through. Pull this tight. And like I said, you may need to position the seed beads so they lay correctly. Okay? Now we have a third one made. So again, repeat this. Again, make sure that you keep your skull laying in the same direction throughout the making of this. It could be like this or like this. Actually, every time I made the ring, my skull was upside down. But this time, for some reason, it's facing up. Okay, so again, I'm going to repeat this. Pick up 2 of the same color, 2 of a different color, oops, 2 of my first color. So I have a total of 6 11-ohs. Exiting out of here, I'm going to pass through this seed bead. Hold this between your fingers and pull this through so what we already did doesn't loosen up. And then pick up 1 8/0 seed bead. Exiting out right here, I'm going to pass my needle up through this 11/0 seed bead. Again, hold this between your fingers and pull this through. That bead should pop into place, and there we go, we completed another one. Now if you're comfortable with this, you can go ahead and fast forward this, or you can keep following along with me if you're new at this. Okay, so again, 2 of those, 2 of these, a total of 6 11/0 seed beads. Exiting out here, passing up through this bead, just like that, just the 1 bead. Hold it between your fingers, go through, pick up an 8/0. Exiting out right there, I'm going to pass up through this bead, like that. Pull this through, pull this tight, and there we go. We now have 5 made. So again, pick up 2 seed bead, 2 11s in green, 2 11s in bronze, 2 in green. Exiting out here, I'm going to pass up through this seed bead. Pull this through, pick up my 8/0. Exiting out in this direction, I'm going to pass my needle through here. Pull this through. Okay. And there we go. We just did it again. So I think I'm going to repeat this maybe 2 more times and then let you do the rest by yourself. So again, 2 11/0s of your first color, 2 of your second color, 2 again of your first color. Coming out here, I'm going to take my needle and pass through this direction. And again, remember to keep your skull laying in the same direction throughout the entire making of the ring band. Pass this through. We have our little square, and then I'm going to take and pick up an 8/0. Exiting out here, I'm going to pass up through this seed bead in this direction, just like this. Pull this through. Pull it tight, and we should now have this. Okay, so now I'm going to repeat this 1 more time. Pick up 2 of the first color, 2 of the second color, 2 again of the first color, and then exiting out here, I'm going to pass my needle through this bead, hold it between your fingers, pick up an 8/0. Coming out here, I'm going to pass the needle up through that seed bead right there, just the 1. Pull this through and pull this tight. Okay, so keep going doing this until this can wrap around your finger, and then I'll show you what to do. Once it fixes your finger, I'll show you how to connect it to the other side over here. So keep going doing this until you get to the size you need. So I kept on going to the length I need to wrap around my finger. And now what I have to do is connect it to the other side. But I just wanted to show you, see when I hold this up, see how all of the beads are laying straight? Before, when I did this, like I said, I kept flipping this back and forth. And when I went to go pick this up, all of the 8/0s were popping out in different directions because I kept flipping this and I wasn't paying attention to that. And I wasn't doing the stitch correctly. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is take my needle. I'm exiting out of this side here, going in that direction with my thread. So I'm going to fold this over like this, and that tells me that I need to go this way through my beads. So I'm just going to make sure of the right beads. Okay, so I'm going to go through these two right here that are straight across from the two that I'm already connected on. I'm just going to pass through these two here, but actually before I do, I forgot I have to pick up my two 11-0 seed beads, and then pass, let me slide these down, and then pass through these two 6-0 seed beads. Okay, just like that, and pull this through. And it's about that time that I slide my needle down my tail, because my tail's starting to get close to my work. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so now I have this. So I have to pick up my last two 11-0s for the ring band. I'm going to pass through these two seed beads right here. Pull this through. Okay, just like that. Now, just like the other side, I have to reinforce this 2 times because I won't be able to go back and reinforce the ring band. Now, see these gaps here? I did want you guys to know this. See these little gaps here? I went back and I tried putting seed beads in there, and I even did 15-0s, and it just did not lay right. So, yeah, don't worry about going back and trying to fill in those gaps because there's no help for it. Okay, so just like this, take the needle, pass through these two, and then again pass through these two 6-0s, pull this through, pass through all of these seed beads again. This is our second pass. Okay, I got 4 in that shot. Now I'm going to go through these two, and then through these here. And if you want, you could do 2 if that's easier, pass through 2, or you could just pass through 1, which for me it's probably easier for me to pass through 2 again. Okay, so now this is very secure right there. And I did want to let you guys know, and I forgot, but if you decide to have your ring just like this, basic skull ring, you will need, I have notes over here, where's it at? I wrote down how much thread you will need. For a basic skull ring, you will need 4 feet of thread. So it takes 7 feet to make it like this, but if you want a more simple looking skull ring or a smaller ring, you will only need 4 feet to make this. So I will put that down there in the description bar. Okay, so now what we have to do is finish decorating the top if you want to, or you can keep it just like this. Okay, so now I'm going to get my beads ready. Okay, so now on this row, I'm going to do all 8-0s of the same color. So exiting out of one of my 6-0 seed beads, I'm going to pick up 2 8-0s, and I'm going to take my needle and pass through the same one I'm exiting out of. So you can see my threads coming out right here. So I'm going to go in this direction and pass through this same 6-0, and then what I'm going to do is pass my needle through these 2 orange again, just like this, pull this through, and now we have this. I'm going to pull this snug, and it should sit like that. Okay, so again I'm going to pick up 2 8-0s, and this time I'm going to pass through 2 6-0s. So exiting out of those 2 8-0s, picking up 2 8-0s again, I'm going to pass through these 2 here. And I'm going to lay these new 2 8-0s on top of this bead. Okay, so I have to go through here. And I may have to go through at an angle. This is why my needle's so bent up for making these rings. And actually I stopped fighting the bend And I realized I should just bend it into this rainbow shape here because it makes it a lot easier to work with. Okay, so I had to come out through the bottom here, which is no big deal because my thread's right here. So I just turned the ring, and I'm going to pass through all 4 of these 8OC beads again, just like that. So pull this through, turn this, and pull these down and pull the thread tight, just like that. Okay, again I'm going to pick up 2 8/0s, just like this. Again, pass through 2 6/0 seed beads, just like this. Okay, pull this through. These will stack on top of the 6/0 seed bead that we passed through, just like that. And then I'm going to pass my needle through these 4 8/0 seed beads, just like that, and pull this through. And again, turn this. I'm going to stop and pull this tight. And we now have this. So I'm just going to keep going doing this around the whole thing. Picking up 2 8/0s, passing through 2 6/0s. I have to lay my 2 new ones on top of this one. So I'm going to pass through these 2 right here. Pull this through. These will stack on top of the red one. And then pass the needle through these 4 right here. Pull this through and pull this tight, just like that, and again repeat. So again, 2 8/0s, exiting out right here. I'm going to lay my 2 new ones on top of that one there. So I'm going to pass my needle through these 2 6/0s here, just like that. Pass through these 4 8s. Go back and pull that tight. And again, repeat. 2 8s. Pass through here. Pull this through. Pass through these 4 again. I always like to pull those tight to make sure it looks good, so you can see how round this is. Again, 2 more 8s. Pass through this 6/0 right here because we're going to stack our 2 new 8/0s on top of this 6/0, and pass through the 6/0 beside it, going back. Pull this through, and then pass through these 4 right here. And again, pull this tight, just like that. Pick up 2 8/0s again. We're going to stack on top of this 6/0, so I'm going to pass through these 2 right here. Ouch. Just like that. And again, pass back down through these 4 beads. Pull these tight, and there we go. It's looking good. 2 again. We're going to stack the 2 new ones on top of this 6/0, so I'm going to pass through this one and through the one beside it. Pull this through, pass through here. Pick up 2 new 6/0s, and I forgot to make sure this was tight. Okay, so again, I picked up 2 more 8/0s. Good grief. Okay, I'm gonna put them on top of this one. So pass the needle through these here. And I may have to go through the bottom to get through here. Something else I've done is I've taken with either my nails, like that, and separate the beads so my needle can pass through there. Okay. Just like that, and again, pass through these 4/8. Pull this through. Hold tight. And there we go. Okay, 2 again. Pass through these 2 6/0s here. Pull this through. Pass through these 4 8s here. Again, pull this tight so it's butt up against our 6/0s. Pick up 2 8s again. Pass through here. Pass through the 4. Pick up 2 8s again. Pass through this 6/0 here because we have to stack on top of it, of course, and through the next 6/0 beside it, just like that. Pulling this through. Pass through these 4 again. Pick up our last 2 8s. And just like before we were doing that, we have to connect these to this here because I only have 1 thread path right there. So again, let me get the ring band out of my way. I'm going to pass my needle through this 6/0 that we're stacking on top of and through the one beside it. Okay. And then I'm going to pass through these 4 just like that. I'm going to come back and pull this tight. I'm going to pass through these 2 8s, just the 2 8s, and then I have to take my needle and go through this 6/0 here. Okay, I'm going to lift this up. You can see my tail right there. So I'm going to pass through this 6/0 right here and through the one that's next to it, back down here. And this might be a little tricky to do. I might have to come out the bottom, which is no big deal. Okay, so I went to the bottom, pulling this through, pull that tight. Let's see how this looks. And right here, this is where I connected it at, right there, and there's only 1 thread path there. So that means we have to go through it one more time because we have 2 thread paths in all of these beads. So I'm Xing right here at the bottom, and I'm going to take my needle and pass back through these 4 so I can get my 2nd thread path. Okay, just like that. Then I'm going to pull this tight. And I like to go back and straighten these up because it gets all bent out of shape when you're handling it like that. Okay, so this is what we have now. Now I'm going to show you how to do the edging right here with the 11 seed beads, and I'm going to show you how to do this one instead of this one because this one's actually more confusing to do, the 2 different colors, than this one here. This one here is more easier, and with this one, instead of doing 2 colors, what you're going to do is the stitch that I'm about to show you in just 1 color, so that would be just the black. So you're going to do the entire stitch all around in black, and then you're going to have these little gaps between the black seed beads, and what I then did was just put white seed beads in between, and I got this really neat looking ring here. Now with these here, I just did 2 different colors in this stitch, and that's how I got this look here. Okay, so to do this stitch, it's pretty simple. I pick up 1 bronze, 1 green, 1 bronze, just like this. I'm Xing out of this bead right here So I have to go back through it, and I'm going to go through it this way, and I'm also going to pass through the 8/0 seed bead beside it, right there, okay? So pull this through, and you should have this. Now the first time we make this, we had to pick up 3 beads, but from now on we're going to pick up 2 until we get to the end and we have to reconnect it, then we're going to pick up 1. But from now on we're going to do 2. So I'm going to pick up 1 bronze and 1 green. The color you want to go down first, that's the first color you pick up. Okay, so I have these 2 beads. I'm going to take my needle, pass through this bronze that I already added, and then pass through these next 2 8/0 seed beads. Just like that, and pull this through. Pull it tight, and we now have this. Again, I'm going to pick up 1 bronze, 1 green, just like that. I'm going to pass through this bronze here that we already have, turn and pass through 2 8/0s, just like that, and pull this through. Pull this tight, just like that. Pick up 1 bronze, 1 green, take the needle, pass through this bronze we already added, and through 2 orange 8/0 seed beads. Okay, and then pull the needle. We should have this. Now I do like to go back and spruce this up. I just pull it like that, and the ones in the outer edge, they stand up. Okay, and you just want to keep going doing this, picking up 2 beads at a time. The first color you want against your 8/0s, you pick that color up first, then your second color, or if you're doing one color, you just do all 1 color. Take the needle, pass through this bronze seed bead right here, and then through 2 orange 8/0s, and pull this through. Okay, pull tight, and again, 1 bronze, 1 green, pass through this bronze, and through the next 2 beads here, the 2 8/0s. Just like that. Pick up 1 bronze, 1 green, pass the needle through this bronze, and these 2 orange. Pull that tight. We now have this. Pick up 1 bronze, 1 green, pass through here again, and 2 8s. And pull this through. Again, go back and straighten those up. So now you could see my gaps here between these green beads. So if this was all 1 color, I would just, for example black, I would just go back after I completed this entire stitch all the way around and add white seed beads in between to get this look right here. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going, repeating the stitch. 1 bronze, 1 green, through this bronze right here that we already have, and through the next 2 8/0s. Pick up a bronze, pick up a green, pass through this one here, the same one we already have, and then 2 8s, just like that, and pull this through. Pull that tight, and there we go. Pick up a bronze and a green, pass through this seed bead again, and pass through 2 8s. Again, pick up a bronze, a green, take the needle, pass through this bronze seed bead here, and through the next 2 8/0s. So this is pretty simple once you get going. It's pretty simple. So I'm just going to do this like 2 more times. Again, pick up a bronze, pick up a green, pass through this bronze we already have, and then pass through 2 8s. And the reason why we pass through 2 8s is because we're stepping up to the next row. Oops, somehow I picked up a green one. So let's see if I can reverse it without having to take my needle off. Sometimes when you go through here you'll get stuck in your threads, but sometimes what I try to do to avoid that is to hug the wall of your seed beads. Okay, and I just hugged that wall and you can see that I did not get caught. So I'm going to pass through here again, take out this one bead that I accidentally picked up, pass through here, okay, pass through my 2 beads, and there we go. Okay, so I fixed my boo-boo, and again we're going to pick up 2 beads, 1 bronze, 1 green. Take the needle, pass through this bronze here, and through 2 8s, just like that. Okay, so keep going doing this weave all the way around until you get over here, and once you get to this side I'll show you what to do next. So keep going, repeating this. So I made it all the way around, and I just have 1 more bronze seed bead right there in the middle to add. So I'm going to pick up my bronze and the green again, exiting out right here. I'm going to take my needle, because I'm exiting and going this direction, I'm going to take my needle and pass through these 2 8/0s. Pull this through. Okay, so now I'm exiting out right here. I'm coming out this bead, but I'm coming out in this direction. So I'm going to take my needle and pass through, pull this tight, this 1 bronze 8/0 seed bead. Okay, pull that tight. I'm picking up another 11/0 green. I have to put 1 more in. I have to pass through this bronze right here, and also through the bronze that's beside it, or not the bronze, the orange that's beside it. And I'm only going to go through 1 orange this time, not 2. Okay, so I have my green here, and I have to connect this green to this 8/0 right here. So just like that, I'm going to pull this through. Okay, so now I'm right here, and I'm going to pass the needle through this bronze right there, because I'm exiting out right there beside it. Okay, so just like that, pull this tight, and then I'm going to take my needle and pass through this seed bead here, one of the seed beads, doesn't matter which, and pull that tight. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is fill in these gaps between all the green seed beads with these green ones here. So again, if this was all one color, it would all be black going all the way around it, so then I would just fill in these gaps with the white seed beads. Now this of course is very easy to do. I'm exiting out right here. I'm gonna pick up 1 green one, exiting out this bead. I'm gonna pass to the next, just like that, pick up another, pass through the next one. And by the way, I do want to let you know, I really like how it looks right now without these beads here, and I wish I could leave it that way, but it's just too soft and flexible, and it would just get all smushed up. See, when you wear it, it would get all smushed up, and that bothers me. I don't want it to do that. So I discovered that filling in these gaps and pulling this thread tight cinches all of this together and gives it this really nice dome shape that looks really good and looks great as a ring. Okay, so I'm just going to continue filling in these gaps. It's very simple. Just pick up 1 bead at a time and place it here in the gap. Just be careful you don't go through 2 beads, because I kept accidentally doing that. Instead of going through 1, I was trying to go fast, and I passed through 2 instead of 1. Okay, just like that. So this is very simple. You really don't need my help doing this. Pick up one bead at a time and put it in that gap there. Now, before you get all the way around this, make sure that this is flat. Go around and make sure this is flat, because sometimes with some of the other ones I had, like this one here, I think that these pink ones are actually a tad bit bigger than 6/0, or maybe it's because I use two different brands, because check seed beads are more of a donut shape and this here was a different band, so maybe that's why this one is so pyramid like. But anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know that you should flatten this before you go all the way around, so that it has that nice rounded shape by the time you come all the way back around on your outer edge. So this is very simple. Just keep going, filling in the gaps here on the outer edge, and once you get all the way around, I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I made it all the way around, and I have one more bead here to add. I'm just going to pass through this one seed bead here. And as you could see, I kept it flat during the rest of it. I didn't really pull the thread tight because I needed this to have a nice shape to it when I fill all this in. So now I'm going to pull this tight. Okay, so now that I'm tightening it, you could see that it's getting that really nice dome look to it. Oh, this one's so cool. I love all the bright colors. Very neat. Okay, so now we have to tie half hitch knots. And I discovered, just like always, but really I really felt that on this one here, I like to tie as many knots as I could, because tying the knots made this very stiff. Makes it really stiff on the outer edge, and we need it to be stiff so it looks good. So I tie a knot, pull this tight, try to hold it by the skull bead like this. Take my needle, pass through here. If you could see this. Oops, I dropped it. Pass through here. Okay, just like that. And I pulled that down too fast. Pass through this loop twice. 1, 2. And I swear that I have a cat hair sewn into this ring. It's right here. Okay. Put the knot right here. And pull this down. Pull it tight. And pass through some beads. Pull it tight and tie another knot. And I keep going around this entire outer edge of this ring doing this, tying half hitch knots. Okay. Pull that down, pass through a few more beads, and tie another knot. So keep going, tying knots all the way around here. I go through like 2 at a time and I tie a knot. It might sound crazy, but it really does stiffen this up and make the ring so awesome. So I go all the way around, and once I get back over here, and you know, you got to try to find where you started at, and you won't be able to pass through your beads if there's a knot there. So if you can go like this, you could see where the knots are at. And then once you find where you started at, what I do is I go back through a bronze, wherever you find where you started at. Go through a bronze just like this, okay? And then go through these orange beads up to right here, okay? And then what I do is I take and go to my 6-inch tail. So I'm leaving that tail for now because I have to go get my 6-inch tail. So my 6-inch tail's at the bottom. Yours could be at the top if you let it go to the top as you were working. And I pull this up to the top. Right here's where my original knot's at. Now, I take this, remember let me turn this around. I had come through the orange beads, okay, and if I come out about right here, I'm then meeting up to this tail. So then what I do is I take this tail and I also put it through my needle. So I have two tails going through my needle. Now if you can't do that, then just do this. So pass through some beads here, take the short tail and pass through some beads and get both of them to meet, and then when they both meet, tie a knot. So say that I went through here and I ended up over here. So then I took my 6-inch tail and I passed through these beads and I came out the same spot. Then I tied both of them together. Then what I did is I put both tails, I made sure that they were same length. I put both tails on my needle and then I just passed them through about half of the 8 seed beads going around like this, and then I trimmed off the tails. So that's how I tied my half-hitch knots in my ring. This is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, leave me a comment, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, and like me on Facebook. And don't forget to share pictures of the jewelry you've made from my videos on my Facebook page, and follow me on Pinterest. Thanks for watching.